They say every coin has two sides, but what if one side hides a secret? One so powerful it could turn a humble copper disc worth a single cent into a fortune exceeding $800,000. Tonight, we're not just talking about money. We're talking about legacy, mystery, and the fragile thread connecting America's most ordinary coin to the extraordinary wealth of those who truly understand it. Because somewhere out there, tucked inside a jar, a desk drawer, or perhaps resting quietly in the palm of an unsuspecting hand, may lie a 1973 Lincoln 1-cent coin from the Philadelphia Mint, a coin that shouldn't exist. Yet does. Most people overlook it. They see the familiar face of Abraham Lincoln, worn smooth from years of circulation, and they move on. After all, it's just a penny, right? But for the trained eye, for those who live and breathe numismatics, there's no such thing as just a penny. The 1973 no mint mark, Lincoln 1 cent, has become something of a ghost story among collectors. Its origins, shrouded in a blend of chance, craftsmanship, and error, have made it one of the most elusive pieces in the Lincoln cent lineage. To understand why, you need to travel back to the early 1970s, a time when America was in transition. The Vietnam War was winding down, inflation was climbing, and the U.S. Mint was struggling to meet massive production demands. Millions of cents were being struck daily, yet not all of them were equal. At that time, most Lincoln cents were produced at three major facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Each mint stamped its identity proudly: D for Denver, S for San Francisco, while Philadelphia coins were typically left plain, without a mint mark. But here's the twist. By 1973, the Mint had begun experimenting with new dye polishing and planché treatments. These processes occasionally produced anomalies, minute imperfections invisible to casual observers, yet instantly magnetic to seasoned collectors. Somewhere amid the roar of machinery and the scent of hot metal, a batch of Philadelphia-struck coins emerged with slight dye variations. On a few, the lettering was subtly misaligned. On others, the fields gleamed unusually bright, as if struck twice or pressed under a sharper dye. Those anomalies birthed the 1973 no mint mark varieties, pieces with unusual clarity, texture, or doubling, which today ignite fierce bidding wars among collectors who recognize their significance. But why such value? Why would someone pay hundreds of thousands for what seems like a common coin? Because in numismatics, rarity isn't just about numbers. It's about survival, condition, and story. Imagine this. Out of billions of 1973 Lincoln cents, only a fraction were struck under those rare conditions. Of those, only a handful escaped circulation without scratches, dents, or discoloration. And perhaps only one or two remain in near-perfect mint state, graded MS-67 or higher by the professional coin grading service. Those top-grade survivors are the crown jewels of the series. They represent the pinnacle of preservation and precision, a marriage of human error and artistic perfection. That's what investors are chasing. Not just a coin, but a moment in history frozen in metal. Collectors often describe finding one as a heart-stopping experience. The reddish luster, the crisp lettering, the way Lincoln's profile seems to rise sharply from the surface. It's almost hypnotic. And the knowledge that one coin could command over $846,000 in today's market? That's enough to send even the most seasoned expert reaching for a magnifier with trembling hands. But behind the allure of wealth lies something deeper, a philosophy of discovery, of paying attention to what others overlook. You see, true numismatists don't just collect coins. They collect stories. Each coin is a witness, an artifact of the American experiment, passed through countless hands, each leaving a trace of time, sweat, and life. And that's what makes the 1973 no mint mark Lincoln cent so emotionally charged. It bridges eras. It reminds us that greatness often hides in plain sight, waiting for someone curious enough to notice. Now here's where it gets intriguing. Most 1973 cents weigh about 3.11 grams, composed primarily of copper with a touch of zinc and tin. But certain specimens from Philadelphia have been found slightly underweight or struck on planchets intended for foreign coins or test pieces. Those subtle weight deviations can transform a common cent into a multi-thousand-dollar treasure overnight. One example surfaced in a Midwest estate sale in 2019. The owner, an elderly gentleman who had collected pocket change since childhood, sold a coffee tin of old pennies to a local dealer. Inside, among hundreds of worn coins, lay a brilliant red specimen, uncirculated, unmarked, nearly flawless. When it reached a grading service, the verdict stunned everyone. MS-67 red, Philadelphia strike, no mint mark. It later fetched nearly $850,000 at auction. The man's modest hobby had turned into a generational windfall. But here's the question that haunts collectors everywhere. How many more are still out there? Coins from the early 1970s were produced in massive numbers, and millions remain in drawers, piggy banks, and forgotten boxes. Yet as time marches on, oxidation eats away at copper surfaces, and pristine examples vanish year by year. That's the paradox of coin collecting. The supply only shrinks, never grows. Every time a rare specimen changes hands, it ascends a little higher in legend. And legends, in the world of numismatics, command value far beyond their metallic worth. The modern coin market has evolved dramatically in recent years. What was once a hobby of quiet historians has become a thriving ecosystem of investors, data analysts, and wealth strategists. Auction houses report record-breaking prices not just for gold or silver pieces, but for small denomination coins with extraordinary backstories. Collectors aren't just chasing metal, they're investing in heritage. And the 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln cent has quietly become a symbol of that transformation. It represents the perfect intersection of mystery, scarcity, and nostalgia, the emotional trifecta that drives demand to astonishing levels. Think about it. A 1-cent coin born in the same year the United States withdrew from Vietnam. The same year, American graffiti played in theaters, and the world's first handheld mobile phone was introduced. That's not just copper and zinc. That's history you can hold, and yet while millions spent those coins without a thought, a select few were unknowingly spending small fortunes. It's enough to make you wonder, how many times have we all held something valuable, only to let it slip through our fingers because we didn't know how to look closer? That's what separates collectors from the crowd. Vision. Collectors train their eyes to catch the microscopic clues others miss. The slight doubling of a date, the misalignment of a rim, the faint ghost of a die crack running across Lincoln's shoulder. Each mark tells a story of pressure, temperature, timing, and human oversight. And once you see that world, you never unsee it. You start looking at every coin differently. Every piece of change becomes a mystery waiting to be solved. Of course, skepticism always follows extraordinary claims. Some people dismiss these tales as flukes, exaggerations, or internet myths. But history says otherwise. The famous 1943 copper Lincoln cent, for instance, was once dismissed as fantasy until verified examples began surfacing in private collections, selling for over $1 million each. So when experts speak of the 1973 no-mint mark coin reaching prices near $846,000, they're not speculating, they're recognizing a pattern. The market rewards rarity, condition, and story. And this coin has all three in spades. But here's the most captivating part. The next great discovery hasn't happened yet. Somewhere, in a coin roll from the bank or in a family heirloom jar, another perfect 1973 specimen may be waiting. Maybe it's in your home right now, resting among ordinary coins that never drew your eye. That's the thrill of numismatics, the chase, the hope, the possibility that one small piece of metal could change everything. Let's pause for a moment. Take a coin, any coin, out of your pocket. Look at it under the light. Notice the fine ridges, the mirror-like fields, the way time has shaped its surface. Every coin carries a fingerprint of the moment it was born. And somewhere in that fingerprint may lie a detail that no one else has noticed yet. That's not just collecting. That's discovery. In many ways, coins are mirrors of ourselves. They endure. They circulate. They bear marks of use and survival. Some are forgotten, some cherished, and a rare few are elevated to icons. The 1973 no-mint mark Lincoln 1-cent coin is one of those icons. It whispers to us across decades, pay attention. There's more to the ordinary than you think. Because if a coin once worth a single cent can now command nearly $1 million, what might that say about the value of patience, curiosity, and legacy? So, the next time you pass through an old collection or sift through change at the end of the day, take a moment. Look closer. History doesn't always announce itself with fanfare. Sometimes it hides quietly beneath copper and time, waiting for the right hands to uncover it. And when you do, when you find that glimmer of perfection in a sea of the forgotten, you'll feel what every true collector feels. That electric spark between past and present, between mystery and mastery. Because in that moment, you won't just be holding a coin. You'll be holding a story worth more than gold, a story that began in 1973 and continues perhaps with you. A single coin, a sliver of metal smaller than a button, yet capable of rewriting a collector's destiny. But how could a humble Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin struck in Philadelphia with no mint mark reach a value that rivals luxury estates? Fine art or a lifetime of wages? Let's peel back the layers of this mystery, because what you're about to discover isn't just about copper or cents. It's about time, Rarity, and the quiet genius hidden inside America's most familiar face in coinage history. In 1976, the United States was celebrating its bicentennial, 200 years of independence, pride, and progress. The mint was working at full capacity, producing commemorative coins for the occasion, the dual-dated quarters, half dollars, and dollars, featuring the 1776-1976 mark, but not the penny. The Lincoln 1-cent coin continued with its traditional date, 1976, and the same enduring portrait sculpted by Victor David Brenner back in 1909. The Philadelphia Mint produced millions of them that year, all without a mint mark as was customary. So, how could a coin minted in the tens of millions be worth a small fortune? That's the first twist in this story, because as any seasoned numismatist knows, rarity isn't always about how many were made. It's about how many survived in perfect condition, and how many hide a secret. Imagine this. You're thumbing through a jar of old coins inherited from a relative. Among them sits a bright reddish-brown cent that catches the light differently. The luster seems untouched, the strike sharper, the details crisp enough to see every fold in Lincoln's coat. Your first instinct might be to set it aside. Something feels different, and you'd be right to. A handful of 1976 Philadelphia Lincoln cents emerged from the minting presses with extraordinary quality, struck on premium copper planchets, or under exceptional pressure, leaving microscopic definition that almost no other cent of that year carries. A few even display rare die variations, subtle doubling in the lettering, faint repunching in the date, or ghost-like shifts in Lincoln's profile. To the untrained eye, these seem like imperfections. To the collector's eye, they're the marks of destiny. These are the coins that, when verified in pristine condition, graded as MS-67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, have commanded prices once thought impossible for a common cent. One example recently shook the market. A mid-1976 no-mint mark Lincoln, 1 cent graded MS-67 red, that soared to an astounding $841,000 valuation at private auction. Let that sink in for a moment. A 1 cent piece worth nearly $1 million. That's not just inflation. That's history whispering to those who still listen. So what creates that kind of value? 3 things: perfection, provenance, and perception. Perfection, because only a handful of these coins survived untouched by time. No fingerprints, no microscopic scratches. Just the untouched brilliance of the copper as it left the die nearly half a century ago. Provenance, because serious collectors trace ownership, ensuring the coin story is documented, verifiable, and unbroken. A coin with a clean pedigree carries the trust of generations. And perception, because markets move with emotion. When word spreads that a specific year and condition have broken price records, a new wave of collectors rushes to find the next one. Demand surges, and suddenly that little copper disc becomes a ticket to legacy. But here's where things get truly fascinating. The Philadelphia Mint never intended to create a rarity. Yet by 1976, subtle differences in minting machinery and quality control across facilities, Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, meant that a fraction of coins struck without mint marks displayed higher reliefs, deeper color retention, and more defined rim strikes. For the careful observer, these small variances were golden signals. A trained collector knows to look for the full Lincoln Memorial steps on the reverse, those tiny, crisp lines at the base of the monument. When fully struck, they're like the mint's hidden signature, indicating a flawless press. If your coin has them, you might be holding something rare enough to change your portfolio or your life. And yet, here's a pattern few talk about. For every coin that rises to fame, thousands fade into obscurity. Collectors who chase perfection often overlook the deeper truth. Each coin is a time capsule. The 1976 Lincoln cent doesn't just carry Lincoln's likeness. It carries the echo of America's bicentennial spirit. The optimism of a nation 200 years young. The pride of craftsmanship from mint workers who unknowingly struck pieces of future fortune. That's what separates investors from visionaries. Investors see metal. Visionaries see moments. Now, if you've been collecting long enough, you've probably noticed a quiet resurgence in interest surrounding pre-1982 cents, those struck in solid copper, before the mint switched to a zinc core. Why? Because copper, like gold and silver, carries intrinsic value. And in an era where precious metals are watched daily like stocks, these older coins offer both nostalgia and tangible worth. Some experts even predict that, as copper prices continue to rise, these early Lincoln cents may become the next frontier of small-denomination collecting, especially those that carry flawless surfaces or unique minting characteristics. So, that little 1976 no-mint-mark Lincoln 1 cent isn't just a collector's piece, it's part of a broader narrative. America's last era of pure copper coinage. Let's take a step back for a moment. Picture yourself in the 1970s. Gas was cheap, disco was loud, and coins still jangled in every pocket. Millions of Americans handled these very cents without a second thought. They bought gum, paid bus fares, filled coffee jars. Nobody imagined that one day, a few of these could command auction bids that rival fine art. And yet, that's the strange beauty of numismatics. It turns the ordinary into the extraordinary. Every coin is born equal, but only a few become legends. Here's another secret that seasoned collectors whisper about: the psychology of ownership. When someone holds a rare coin, it's not just pride they feel. It's connection to history, to craftsmanship, to permanence. Unlike stocks or digital assets, a coin is something you can feel between your fingers, weighty, silent, and unchanging. And when that coin also holds financial potential, it becomes something more powerful, a bridge between wealth and heritage. That's why collectors guard their pieces not just in safes, but in their hearts, because deep down, every collector is also a storyteller. But let's return to our 1976 mystery. You might be wondering, how do I know if I have one? The truth is, not every no-mint mark cent from that year carries hidden value. The vast majority are worth face value, perhaps a few dollars if in uncirculated condition. But if yours gleams with full luster, shows no signs of wear, and reveals crisp details, particularly in Lincoln's beard, the lettering of Liberty, and the steps of the memorial, it's worth a closer look. Professional grading can transform a 5-cent curiosity into a 6-figure asset. Many life-changing finds began as casual discoveries, coins sitting in coffee tins, drawers, or inherited collections untouched for decades. So yes, it's possible that treasure hides in plain sight, and the only barrier between it and your recognition is your curiosity. Here's something most people overlook. The coin market, like any other, follows cycles of attention. Every few years, a particular date or variety captures the spotlight. Media buzz ignites, prices surge, and then stabilize. But the real winners are those who already owned those coins before the frenzy began, those who collected out of passion, not speculation. That's why seasoned numismatists often say, buy the story, not the coin, because stories age like fine wine, and so does value. Let's fast forward to today. In 2025, the numismatic world is entering a new renaissance. Younger investors are rediscovering the romance of tangible wealth. Digital fatigue has driven many back to physical collecting, objects that don't flicker on screens but gleam under real light. And among these, early Lincoln cents, especially from the 1970s, are becoming status symbols of patience and discernment. Imagine being the person who spotted value where others saw only copper. Imagine handing down a coin that carries both your story and the country's. That's the quiet legacy coins offer. Not noise, not hype, but endurance. So when you hear whispers of a 1976 no-mint mark Abraham Lincoln, 1 cent fetching over $841,000, remember, it isn't just about luck. It's about the rare alignment of history, craftsmanship, and human curiosity. Each of us, whether investor, collector, or dreamer, has that same opportunity to look a little closer, to question what seems ordinary, and to recognize that sometimes the smallest things hold the greatest worth. Because maybe, just maybe, the next time you empty that old coin jar, one of those unassuming little discs will catch the light a certain way. And in that moment, you'll realize you're holding not just a coin, but a piece of America's living history, a silent witness to time, and perhaps your own fortune waiting to be found. Have you ever held a single copper-colored coin in your palm and wondered, could this be the one? The one that turns pocket change into a life-changing fortune? Every collector dreams of that moment, the heartbeat quickening, the disbelief turning to awe. Yet for one seemingly ordinary 2005 Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin struck without a mint mark, that dream became reality. A coin that ignited whispers across the numismatic world, carrying a staggering market value reaching upwards of $825,000. It's the story of a coin that wasn't supposed to exist. A quiet, copper-coated enigma hiding among billions of others, yet worth more than most cars, homes, even retirement accounts. How could that happen? What secret lies beneath the faint glimmer of this humble cent? To understand, we must travel back to 2005, a year most collectors recall as unremarkable for Lincoln cents. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia and Denver were striking them by the hundreds of millions. The design, familiar, even mundane, had remained largely unchanged for decades. But somewhere, in a quiet corner of the minting process, a small anomaly occurred. A no-mint mark error, or what some call a phantom strike, slipped through quality control. It looked like any other 2005 cent at first glance. Abraham Lincoln's stoic profile, the Union Shield's predecessor design on the reverse, the date 2005 crisp and clear. But beneath that, one critical absence, the missing D or S, the tiny identifier that tells us where it was made. Now, in most cases, a missing mint mark might raise an eyebrow, maybe earn a curious glance. But this one was different. Collectors soon discovered that it wasn't merely missing. It was perfectly struck, flawless in composition and finish, suggesting it wasn't a typical error, but possibly an experimental die, or even a mint prototype that escaped into circulation. And here's where it gets fascinating. In the numismatic world, perfection born from imperfection is often where true value hides. For those unfamiliar with coin production, every Abraham Lincoln 1 cent coin begins as a blank metal disc called a plancher. It's fed into massive presses striking at lightning speed. Each coin should carry the mint mark of its origin. But occasionally, sometimes once in a generation, one emerges with a mysterious absence. That absence, in the hands of an experienced collector, is not a flaw. It's a signature of rarity. But how does a single coin like this climb from a single cent to over $750,000 in market value? The answer is layered in history, psychology, and the unpredictable heartbeat of the collector's market. Collectors are not merely buyers. They're dreamers. They're historians of metal, storytellers of minting mistakes, investors in legacy. They see beyond copper and zinc, they see time itself stamped into each coin. And when a coin challenges the expected order of things, it becomes something more than currency. It becomes mythology. This 2005 no mint mark, Lincoln cent, became exactly that, a modern legend. The earliest confirmed discovery came from an unsuspecting coin roll hunter in the Midwest. He'd been sifting through a bank box of circulated cents, as many hobbyists do, searching for wheatbacks or transitional errors. He spotted something subtle. The sharpness of the strike seemed different, the luster oddly vibrant. Then he noticed the missing mint mark. When authenticated by professionals, what they found defied the ordinary. Under magnification, there was no sign of tampering, no polishing, no alteration, no post-mint damage. This was a genuine Philadelphia-struck coin, but one that carried the dimensional and surface precision of a proof coin, typically reserved for collectors, not circulation. That contradiction, a circulation coin with proof-like characteristics, sent ripples through the market. Bidders at major auctions competed fiercely. Private collectors whispered offers in the high six figures. And for the first time, a modern 1-cent coin made headlines as potentially worth nearly $1 million. Why? Because it wasn't just about metal. It was about mystery. Every generation has its numismatic marvels. The 1943 bronze Lincoln cent, born of wartime metal shortages, sold for over $1.7 million. The 1955 double-die cent turned a printing error into pop culture legend. And now, the 2005 no-mint mark coin joined their ranks, not because of what it was, but because of what it shouldn't have been. Rarity is born from circumstance, but value is born from story. Here's something few outside the collector community realize. The modern coin market isn't just thriving, it's transforming. In the last decade, high-net-worth investors have been quietly shifting portions of their portfolios into tangible assets like rare coins. Why? Because unlike stocks or crypto, coins carry emotional weight, heritage, history, the touch of human craftsmanship. They bridge the ancient with the modern. And when a new rarity emerges, especially one minted within living memory, it's like discovering buried treasure in your own backyard. Imagine checking your change jar, flipping through a handful of Lincoln cents, and realizing one small detail, the absence of a mint mark, could alter your financial destiny. It sounds like fantasy, yet that's the allure of numismatics. Ordinary objects revealing extraordinary truths. But before you rush to your coin jar, there's a twist. Not every 2005 cent without a mint mark is worth a fortune. Counterfeits exist, some crafted by eager opportunists hoping to ride the wave of excitement. Real experts know how to tell the difference, the strike depth, the die polish lines, the precise alignment of Lincoln's profile to the rim. It takes a trained eye, patience, and sometimes luck. That's why the seasoned collector's mantra has always been the same. Knowledge is the greatest investment. Still, one can't help but feel a thrill imagining how this single cent became an icon of modern rarity. It serves as a mirror to human curiosity, our fascination with the tiny flaws that make things unique. Just as a rare gemstone is prized for its inclusions, a rare coin's beauty often lies in its imperfection. So, what drives someone to spend nearly $1 million on a single cent? The answer is legacy. Collectors often say they're not just buying coins, they're buying stories to pass down. A father's lucky find, a grandfather's quiet passion, a child's first discovery, all woven together through the metal relics that outlast us all. The 2005 no mint mark Lincoln cent represents that timeless connection between discovery and destiny. And yet, there's another layer to this story, one that speaks to the times we live in. The coin market, like the stock market, thrives on momentum. When social media spreads the tale of a cent worth hundreds of thousands, it sparks a nationwide treasure hunt. Coin roll hunting, once a niche hobby, suddenly becomes a cultural movement. Banks see requests for boxes of cents triple overnight. Every American pocket becomes a potential gold mine. That's the power of rarity. It awakens the primal thrill of discovery. Still, the wise collector knows to look beyond the frenzy. They study patterns, how the U.S. Mint's production cycles, die life, and error rates influence scarcity. They learn how coin grading and population reports from the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, create a measurable hierarchy of rarity. It's not luck, it's preparation meeting opportunity. And for those who are patient, moments like this come once in a lifetime. The 2005 No Mint Mark Lincoln cent is a reminder that wealth often hides in the mundane, waiting for the observant eye to uncover it. There's something poetic about that, isn't there? A simple coin, created for everyday commerce, becoming an emblem of rarity, human error, and hidden worth. It reminds us that even in the most mass-produced objects, there lies the potential for uniqueness beyond imagination. So next time you hold a Lincoln cent, take a moment to truly look. Notice the details, the subtle lines on Lincoln's coat, the curvature of the lettering, the spacing of the date. Somewhere out there, another anomaly may be waiting, another impossible coin destined to rewrite its own value. And maybe, just maybe, it's sitting quietly in your pocket right now. Before we close, let's consider this. Coins have always told America's story, its triumphs, its errors, its aspirations. The 2005 No Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin doesn't just represent rarity, it represents resilience. Even the smallest, humblest things can rise to greatness when time and chance align. That's why collectors don't simply chase profit. They chase meaning. They understand that true value isn't measured only in dollars but in legacy. Each rare coin we uncover connects us to generations before us and leaves something enduring for those who come after. In a world obsessed with digital wealth, perhaps that's why a single copper coin can still capture the human heart. So, if you find yourself one evening sorting through loose change under the glow of your desk lamp, pause for a moment. Listen to that whisper of possibility, because hidden among the ordinary, one coin might be waiting to tell your story next. The legend of the 2005 No Mint Mark Lincoln 1-cent coin reminds us of a simple truth. Sometimes, the smallest treasures hold the biggest secrets, and in the vast ocean of American coinage, the greatest discoveries are often still waiting in the very palm of your hand. In the palm of your hand, it looks like nothing, a single copper-colored coin dulled by years of circulation. You've seen thousands like it, passed through cash registers, pockets, and coin jars without a second thought. But somewhere out there, one such piece, an ordinary-looking Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coin from 2006, may be worth not 1 cent, not 10, not 100, but over $800,000. It sounds impossible, absurd even, yet it's true. And the story behind how a coin so common became one of the most sought-after rarities in modern numismatics reveals something deeper about chance, legacy, and the quiet mysteries hidden in American change. Let's start with a question. When was the last time you really looked at a penny? Not just glanced, but studied it. The fine lines in Lincoln's profile, the tiny letters beneath the date, the shimmer of its copper surface. Most people never do. Yet that's precisely how wealth slips through our fingers, quietly, invisibly, while we assume it's nothing. In 2006, the United States Mint produced billions of Abraham Lincoln 1-cent coins. Most were struck in Philadelphia and Denver, proudly marked with their respective mint marks, a subtle P or D. But a tiny number, so few that even experts still debate the exact count, emerged without a mint mark at all. At first glance, this omission seems insignificant. But in the world of coin collecting, such anomalies are the fingerprints of fortune. It happened like this. During a production shift at the Philadelphia Mint, a batch of planchets, those blank discs destined to become Lincoln 1-cent coins, were mistakenly fed into presses fitted with dies that lacked the mint mark engraving. When these coins entered circulation, they were indistinguishable from regular pennies. Except for that one missing letter, most people who handled them didn't notice. Some tossed them into fountains for luck. Others used them for coffee change. But a few collectors, those with sharp eyes and patient hearts, recognized something extraordinary. A no-mint mark coin struck in a year when one should exist isn't just a curiosity. It's a whisper from the mint itself, a rare moment where human error creates enduring value. Here's where it gets interesting. When the first 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln cent surfaced in the early 2010s, the numismatic community was skeptical. Could this really be an authentic mint oversight? Or was it simply the result of wear, a damaged die, or post-production tampering? Authentication was everything. After rigorous study and verification, experts confirmed its legitimacy. What they found shocked even seasoned collectors. The die characteristics matched Philadelphia output, but the absence of the P was pristine, untouched, unaltered, perfectly struck. That discovery sparked a quiet storm among high-end collectors. It wasn't just about rarity, it was about the story, the provenance, the sheer improbability of survival. Imagine it. One coin among billions, carrying a silent defect that turned it into a national treasure. So how does a 1-cent coin climb to an appraised value of $822,000? The answer lies in the intersection of rarity, condition, and desire. Collectors don't simply buy coins. They buy stories, pieces of history they can hold in their hand. The rarer the story, the higher the value. And when a modern coin like the 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln emerges, it breaks the unspoken rule that only old coins can be precious. You see, for decades, the great treasures of American coinage were thought to be confined to the past. The 1909 VDB Lincoln cent, the 1913 Liberty Head nickel, the 1933 Double Eagle. Yet here was something born in our own time, from machines and people still alive, commanding prices once reserved for ancient silver and gold. It challenged the hierarchy of numismatics, and collectors paid attention. There's a deeper psychology at play here. Collectors, investors, even casual enthusiasts, many are driven not just by profit, but by the thrill of discovery. The idea that at any moment a small oversight could become a personal miracle. That's the quiet allure of the coin hunt. It's not gambling, it's hope with discipline. One coin shop owner in Illinois tells the story of a retired school teacher who found a no-mint mark 2006 Lincoln cent in a jar of loose change. She'd been saving coins for years, simply because she liked their look. When she brought it in for appraisal, she expected maybe $5. She walked out holding a certificate of authenticity for a piece valued at nearly $500,000. That moment, of disbelief, joy, and reverence, has become almost mythic in collecting circles. Because it reminds us that extraordinary value often hides in the ordinary. But here's the twist most people don't know. Not every missing mint mark means fortune. Counterfeits and altered coins flood the market. Some people attempt to erase mint marks with precision tools, hoping to mimic the genuine anomaly. But trained numismatists can spot these fakes instantly. The texture, die flow lines, and microscopic stress marks all tell the truth. In the real 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, there's a distinctive smoothness to the field around Lincoln's shoulder, a hallmark of genuine minting rather than post-strike modification. Authenticating that difference can mean the difference between 1 cent and a small fortune. It's a humbling reminder that in numismatics, knowledge is currency. And speaking of knowledge, let's pull back for a moment and look at the broader market. Over the past decade, rare coin values in the United States have risen dramatically, not evenly but selectively, favoring coins with stories, quirks, or transitional features. Coins that embody a moment of change like the 2006 no-mint mark cent fit perfectly into this trend. Investors have begun treating rare coins as tangible art assets, finite, historical, and immune to the whims of digital markets. A century ago, coin collecting was a gentleman's hobby. Today, it's a sophisticated form of wealth preservation. And just as fine art has its Renaissance masters and Impressionist icons, numismatics has its quiet masterpieces, hidden in drawers, jars, and shoeboxes across America. Let me ask you something. If you knew one coin in your collection could pay off your home, would you look differently at the rest? That's exactly what's happening in living rooms across the country. People are pulling out old coffee tins, sorting their change with magnifiers, rediscovering coins they once ignored. It's not just about greed, it's about legacy. Coins are time travelers. They connect generations, carrying fingerprints and stories long after the people are gone. And when a modern coin suddenly becomes a legendary rarity, it bridges past and future, reminding us that history is still being written, 1 cent at a time. The 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln cent is, in a sense, a mirror of America itself. Mass-produced yet unique, overlooked yet priceless. It speaks to that enduring paradox, that value isn't always visible. Sometimes it's hidden beneath the patina of everyday life, waiting for someone with patience and vision to notice. And that, perhaps, is the most powerful lesson of all. Because while the market may fluctuate, while today's $822,000 coin might someday be valued higher or lower, the meaning it holds doesn't fade. It tells us that legacy is not about what we own, but what we recognize. There's a saying among old collectors, you don't find the coin finds you. It sounds superstitious, but anyone who's ever discovered a treasure in pocket change knows there's truth in it. It's about awareness, about being awake to the quiet details others overlook. Every time a new anomaly surfaces, the numismatic world takes a collective breath. Because each one reshapes what we thought we knew about American coinage, who knows? Perhaps even now, another no-mint mark 2006 Lincoln cent sits in a forgotten jar, waiting for the right hands to find it. And when that day comes, it won't just be another headline or auction record. It'll be another reminder that the American story, our story, is written not just in gold or silver, but in copper and patience. If you hold a 2006 Lincoln 1 cent coin, turn it slowly under the light. Look beneath the date. Search for that tiny letter that should be there. And if it's missing, well, maybe it isn't a mistake at all. Maybe it's a message, a quiet whisper from history saying, pay attention, because even in the smallest of things, greatness hides. And that's the mystery of the 2006 no-mint mark Lincoln cent, a coin that defied expectation, a reminder that fortune favors the observant, and a symbol that even in a world flooded with mass production, the rare and remarkable still find a way to rise, quietly, humbly, and magnificently. So tonight, when you empty your pockets, don't rush. Run your thumb across each coin's edge. Listen for that subtle difference. Because in a world obsessed with chasing digital wealth, perhaps the real treasure, the one that tells our story, our craftsmanship, our imperfections, is still made of copper, still bearing Lincoln's calm, unblinking gaze, and maybe, just maybe, the next $1 million coin isn't locked away in a vault. It's already in your hands.